So, it's only a few minutes later than the last video, actually. But because the weather's so nice, I thought I'd just walk round and show some of the interesting or useful things in this and neighbouring streets. Pubs, for example. I'll probably do that several times while the summer lasts. There's really too much to show in one go. One thing I won't show, though, is the sweatshirt shops, the Watsons or Waltons was it, and Oxford campus stores and Flags and all the others that I pointed out in Broad Street yesterday. And I've got two reasons for that. One is that they're very annoying because they take up space that could be much better used by something like groceries. I remember somebody living in Ironbridge making a similar comment about the shops there when I visited their town. And the other is, why buy something as boring as a sweatshirt, which is probably made by slave labour in China, when there are so many other nice clothes available? Like that, for example, which is something that I wear and that I brought along just to stuff on a hanger outside this Wadham College outpost and show you. This is just an illustration of the fact that you don't have to wear boring stuff, and it doesn't have to be made in sweatshops in China or Vietnam or wherever. You can wear stuff that's nice and that gives pleasure to other people. Let me turn off while I pack this away. Okay, garment duly packed. There is a French performance artist called Stelarc, Stelarc, and he has three hands. Two of them are his own, as it were. They're attached to his arms, which are attached to his shoulders, which are attached to the rest of his body. The third is a prosthetic hand, made to resemble a real one as closely as possible in shape. And it contains sensors which pick up signals from muscles in his, I think it's the abdomen, or round there. The abdomen has muscles, doesn't it? Of course it does. That's why people talk about abs and six-packs and such like. And he's trained himself to be able to control the third hand as if it were one of the other two. So he can, for example, play concerts three-handed. I would find a third hand very useful because I've got the phone holder in one and a rucksack in another, and I'm trying to pack something away with a third, and I don't have that third. And really, I don't know why evolution only gave us two hands. It could have been so much more generous. Let me just check that I've got everything. Yeah. So I am standing in Holywell Street. There isn't much, probably, to interest the average non-resident in well, no, that's not true. There's a little independent store there, corner shop, if you need milk or sandwiches or whatever. Apart from that, there's a printer, and they're very good. They print my cartoons for me, but the average visitor to Oxford probably doesn't want a bit of impromptu cartoon printing at 4:30 on Sunday afternoon. What is of interest is the Turf Tavern, which is a pub, and which, like many of the other pubs, probably claims to be very, very old, and which has two entrances. Oh, and that little building is the Holywell music rooms, where some of the concerts whose posters I pointed out were held. And there's a Japanese restaurant at the far end of the street on the left. So the Turf Tavern is in Bath Place, which is down here. Well, it seems that according to the Turf Tavern, Richard Burton, Elizabeth Taylor, C.S. Lewis, I thought for a moment that was Lewis as in Morse, but it isn't. It's C.S. Lewis, the Narnia guy, and the Australian Prime Minister Bob Hawke. Bob Hawke, Australian Prime Minister, 1954, set a Guinness World Record for consuming a yard of ale in 11 seconds. Right, I need to explain a yard of ale. For anybody who only thinks metric, a yard is 3 feet, a foot is 12 inches, and you can work out what that is because an inch is 2.54 centimetres. A yard of ale, I'm not sure whether it's a yard long, but it must be about that length. There's a sort of trumpet, bugle would be a better word, a sort of bugle-shaped affair, consisting of a narrow tube with a mouthpiece and a small flared bell or end. And you fill it with ale, hold it to your mouth, and then drink it down in one go without the bell leaving your lips. It is possible to do this, but you have to learn to open your throat so that the beer will go straight down. You have to sort of move the gagging reflex out of the way. I have done this, by the way. I can't remember how much beer a yard actually holds. It might only be a pint because there isn't really all that much volume in there, but possibly it's 3 pints. Anyway, Bob Hawke, Australian Prime Minister, drank a yard of ale in 1954, and there are many students who would be proud to have done that. So the turf is through here. Turf Tavern and Education in Intoxication. Sorry, thanks. Turf Tavern outside Space 1. It's nice to sit there in the winter. That's the front bar of the Turf, which is one of the sales points, and those circles of coloured lights that you can see are basically pump labels, and the pumps sell various types of beer, cider, etc. And it's a point of pride. If I were making a very bad pun, I'd say London Pride, which is a kind of beer. It's a point of pride for a pub like this to have lots of different beers on at the same time, on all of good quality. This is the Turf's back garden. That's restaurant, I think. The usage changes from time to time. And I'm pretty sure that's part of New College. I'm trying not to get in people's way, which is why these are brief glimpses. It's just so busy. Sorry. Don't forget, as I said yesterday, that you can freeze the video, of course, and read this at your leisure. The Turf Tavern, or just the Turf to its locals, is probably the oldest pub in Oxford. The pub was built in the Catte, the moat outside the city wall, as gambling and betting was not permitted inside the city walls. Its foundations and use as a malt house can be dated back to 1381. Note posed by Richard II. Originally called the Spotted Cow, the name was changed as its reputation grew as a venue of gambling. Patrons would frequent the turf to meet their turf men, and although logic might dictate this was primarily a horse connection, it seems they'd take bets on pretty much anything. Since then, it has become a firm favourite for Oxford University dons, students, tourists, and many celebrities, all searching the streets of Oxford to find its best-kept secret. The turf has two entrances. This is the other one.
Bless you.
Hay una ruta para allá y otra. Si yo voy para allá, tú tienes que ir para allá, ¿vale?
Raga, attenti che è stretto qua.
Ragazzi, andiamo.
Siamo vari.
Ma guarda, secondo me la portavo.
Now I've come out by Hertford College, and that is its imitation of the Bridge of Sighs, or at least a lot of people think that that's why the bridge was built, though I'm not sure that it's actually the real reason. Must be one of the most photographed pieces of architecture in Oxford. This is Catte Street, which is very, very busy. The blue wall down there, or fence, belongs to the Radcliffe camera. The university has been rather unpleasantly strict about Gaza protests. This is the Sheldonian Theatre, and the space around it leads to the Bodleian Library and is open most days that there are no graduation ceremonies or other degree ceremonies. can't hear it. As I say, the Sheldonian is often used for concerts.
I'm gonna ask you.
There you are. That is the entrance to the Western Library, the former New Bodleian, and there's a Benugo cafe, nice coffee, and some little exhibition rooms, and possibly a few bits of exhibition in the main hall as well. Generally the entrance to those is free, except of course to the Benugo, where you do have to pay for the coffee. Blackwell's is Oxford's famous bookshop, opened 18 something or other, and it has a lot of space that isn't immediately apparent. There's a huge underground room called the Norrington Room, where all the science books, that speaking widely includes philosophy, psychology and so on, as well as more technical stuff like computing. Science books are down below. And Blackwell's has other shops dotted around. For example, on the left-hand corner, halfway down Broad Street on the left, is a shop that sells science fiction and manga, Japanese cartoons, comics. King's Arms I've already talked about, the pub. You can board the tourist bus in Broad Street. Between the two halves of Blackwell's, there's a long, low, slightly subterranean pub called the White Horse. Lots of wood panelling, quite atmospheric, rather gloomy. Last time I was there, it had only 2 or 3 beers, but they were all well kept. You can always ask the barman in British pubs for a sample, so that you can tell whether you like the beer and whether you think it is well kept. Because proper real ale is a biological product and it does need care. You can ask for a sample and they'll give you, I don't know, I think it's something like 1/6 of a pint with a few sips in. That's enough to tell you whether you'll like the stuff. Opposite is the Bodleian Library shop, which is one way Bodleian earns itself extra money. Posters, replica book covers, assorted gifts. Same sort of things you'll find in many gift shops, but rather higher class. You can give that to somebody whose taste you're worried about offending, and be reasonably sure that you won't offend them. The Ashmolean gift shop is the same sort of thing. There I think you can also buy replica Roman coins.
I also want to see this thing.
Now, well, who doesn't know that? Okay, I'm getting in the way a bit. Now, I hope I'm allowed to show that on YouTube. That may seem an odd thing to say, but I've been having trouble with copyright. When you upload a video, YouTube checks for copyrighted songs, or copyrighted music rather, and blocks the video in certain jurisdictions if it finds things which would offend their copyright laws. And this happened to me yesterday. I videoed that theatre performance. They were playing a piece which I think was called One Strange World. And YouTube said, this is copyright. There are places you're not allowed to show it. Video blocked, and you have to appeal if you want to get it unblocked. And since I'm not playing the song myself, and I have no way of controlling when it's played, it's just in the background, as if I were a news reporter. This is very, very perverse. I suppose it's just their way of making a little bit more money than they otherwise would. Hopefully, since this is classical music, much older, and probably follows different copyright laws, I'll be okay. Unless the musician's performance itself is copyrighted.
I love this song. You sound like people are like rushing it so
Okay, well this is Catte Street again. This is Hertford College. This is the entrance to the Bodleian quadrangle. Let's do this properly. That connects to the space around the Sheldonian where I just was. I've talked before about Sobel House, the hospice charity, and the replica oxen that they have dotted around the city. I showed you two in Broad Street yesterday. This is a third, and well, it just has to be a Bodleian one, doesn't it? With decoration like that. Well, I'm no expert, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is some sort of medieval French or possibly one of the related languages at the time. Occitan, maybe? Bodleian Ox, thank you. Right, where was I? I don't have enough width of field to do this properly. So I'm now looking back into the quadrangle where I just came out of. Now I'm looking south towards the Radcliffe camera and the anti-Gaza protest fence. Okay, so add that to my list of refreshment options. There's always an ice cream stop there. Now back on Catte Street, facing the High Street.
Sapete che è questa la libreria, non è quella? Quella è un'altra roba.
So don't wear sunscreen.
That is the University Church, the Church of St Mary the Virgin.
Maybe we should plan to do the same thing on the Saturday morning as the morning.
That is the nearest thing that Oxford has to an Institute of Advanced Studies, as you might call it at, say, Princeton or Harvard. It's All Souls College. The thing that most reminds me of is the skyline of central Lisbon before the 1755 earthquake. After the earthquake, the city was replanned, I believe on strictly classical grounds by the Marquis de Pombal. But it was fantastic roofscapes. Almost all of which the earthquake destroyed, and I always feel very sad about that. It would have been wonderful if old Lisbon had survived. In Britain, or at least England, Scottish law and Welsh law might be different. You can sell things on the street at very minimal expense. All you need is what's called a peddler's licence. And to get it, you have to register with the local police and submit a description of yourself. And that is really all there is to it, and it costs something like £12.64. And I think this dates back to an old law, an old statute, which was perhaps last updated in the 17th century. And that's what this lady is doing. She's selling jewellery and somewhat expressionist artwork. I know her, which is why I can say that about the artwork. Hi. That is a cafe called The Vaults, and it's housed in part of the church. Nice place to sit outside in this weather. Not such a nice place to join a queue.
That is it, T. Lawrence, William Blackstone, the vice president here.
Catte. Japanese for cat is neko, isn't it? So, what would that to be Nakozilla?
We should take a photo of you guys. All of
Yeah,
us.
hold on, yeah.
Yeah.
Literally yesterday planted one of these with my mum. Yeah, most of yeah. No, this is mysterious. This is.
Okay, and now I'm on the High Street, which is a big shopping thoroughfare and which has many cafes. There are more cafes on Corn Market to the right, Queen Street straight on, and a few, not so many, down St Aldits to the left. So I will end this impromptu tour of facilities today. See you next time.